This will be a part 2, also for the first video you watched about the history of the home. I don't know how I'm going to label it, but this will be a part 2. I didn't know we were going to see the garden, or I would have just kept it going, so it's my fault. But this will be a part 2. I don't know how I'm going to label this. I'm probably just going to adventures, history, and then do ABDL. Because you know what? You can be an ABDL, ddlg, an autistic, whatever, and still do field trips and live everyday life. So, just has nothing to do with, like, diapers and nappies and etc., or toys and dolls and baby clothes, and having a caregiver doesn't mean you can't live your life. Like, I am more than just those things. Ooh. Oh, how gorgeous. Look at the garden. Ooh. I love to make love here with the fairies and the fae. And the trolls and the domes and the gnomes. You can walk around too.
You've got sage, Russian sage, yuccas, roses, peonies. No, the roses. Just red roses. Red roses? Yeah.
Barbara, you tired, honey? I'm sorry. Maybe she's sitting in the van. She's tired. I don't want to fall.
She wants to tired.
Oh. Sorry. I didn't know. Just being thoughtful.
Yep. But she doesn't see it as that.
Sorry, Barbara.
They don't do flowers.
Means we should get married.
The garden was originally put up in 1804 when the family moved in full time.
Wow.
And then what happened was when James, when he came in, he made the garden even larger. So when the garden was first planted, it was 4 acres large. This is not 4 acres.
Yeah.
This is not even a half acre.
This is barely a quarter of an acre. So it was about 8 times the size of this original.
And who took care of that? I could only
So
imagine.
it was the different gardeners and the indentured servants on the property at the time.
Wow.
Was the original garden still over here?
Yeah, so the original garden, it was here, but it just stretched further back, further down. And then what happened was, as the time went on, different gardeners came in and said, we don't need that large of a garden, so it shrunk from 6 acres to 4 acres. And then in 1912, it was shrunk to this size. And that's because the technical name for this type of garden is an ornamental boxwood garden. The ornamental part comes from the fact that it's a flower garden. Because when the garden was built in 1804, if people had land that you could grow anything on, you grew food.
Yeah.
You gotta eat. But the family was so wealthy that they had 36 acres of farmland. They could afford to make 4 of it for flowers. So that's what they did. They planted the flower garden, and the boxwood part of the name are from these things right here. These are boxwood shrubs.
Did any of the women you think partake in the garden, like the ones, like the woman who lived here, or maybe Virginia, she played, or did she pick veggies and fruits, or help her mother?
Yep. So the story behind the garden itself, when the garden was planned in 1804 and when it was planted, it was actually planned by an 11-year-old girl.
Aww.
Her name was Marianne Everplank. She was the daughter of Daniel. So the man who purchased James's freedom, it was his daughter and him that planned the garden itself.
Wow.
Yeah. So Mariana kind of took care of the garden a lot of the time. She was the one who planned it. And then later on, it was Virginia who took care of the garden, and she wrote books about gardening. And one of the books that she wrote was about the garden here at Mount Gulin specifically, which came in handy. Because when the fire happened in 1931, like I said, the site laid in ruins for almost 50 years. And then when the house was rebuilt, they only rebuilt the house and brought the barn over so that it would look like what it looked like during the American Revolution. There was no garden here at the time. So it wasn't until 1995 that the garden was resurrected.
Wow.
It was done by volunteers.
Oh, that's interesting.
So volunteers used Virginia's book to research where on the property it would be, and they used 3 landmarks to figure it out. The first was the gate post that you'll see behind the tree over by the sign. That was the first one. The second landmark was the pergola. That's the wooden structure back there that has the grapevines on top of it.
Oh!
Over there.
So just behind the garden itself.
Do you see
the tree?
Do you see that?
Right?
It looks like an overarching tree. It's like lighter green leaves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's grapevines.
There's grapes on it, Brian?
Yep.
Oh?
There are.
You guys don't pick the grapes over there, do you guys?
We haven't had grapes grow over there.
They haven't grown?
They haven't grown. It's kind of there for show. I haven't seen any.
So they maybe once did?
Yeah, so from the pictures that we have from when the family was originally here, they actually didn't even put grapevine on there. They just kept it as a wooden structure for show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the third, I know it's going to start raining again, so I don't want to keep anyone at your team. Third structure was the water pump. So they found those 3 things in Virginia's gardening book and used those 3 things to create the size of the garden. So all the flowers you've seen here were flowers that were, they're not the original flowers, but they were the flowers that would have been in the garden.
You're a lifesaver.
Before the fire, and we know that because of Virginia's book. And there are 3 specific flowers, the yuccas, peonies, and the roses. They are originals. Because after the fire in the 1960s, a McLean family member came back, found the garden, dug up the flowers, brought them to her home in Connecticut, and then when she heard we were rebuilding the garden in 1995, came back to us and donated them back.
Aww.